there and the channel. Send out signal room. Everything. I'm trying to get better and better at all these prepping it. Amazing how much goes on behind the scenes. All right. That signal is sent out. You're all set. All right. Oh,
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for WordPress plugins A to Z, not Z.
Welcome to another episode of WP Plugins A to Z interview show. In this episode, we are talking privacy power-ups for WordPress with Hans Skillrud, where we will be revealing how Termageddon keeps your site compliant and amid changing laws and more. WordPress, the king of content management systems, powering the web with over 80,000 plugins to choose from. How do you sort the junk from the gems? Welcome to WP Plugins A to Z, where we've been keeping the pulse of WordPress alive for over 16 incredible years. Join us every week for an unrehearsed, real talk breakdowns of the latest and greatest plugins, developer and community member interviews. Some weeks, Amber and I team up to dig in. Others, I'm flying solo, unpacking WordPress news, demoing a standout plugin, or sharing tips to power up your site. No scripts, no fluff, just the good stuff from A to Z. So plug in and let's get rolling. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you have to be hiding out there on the globe today. Coming to you direct from the brewery overlooking beautiful southern Vancouver Island. I'm John Overall, and welcome to interview 74 of the WP Plugins A to Z show, where we're thrilled to have Hans Skillrud, the vice president and co-founder of Termageddon, joining us for a deep dive into the world of WordPress privacy, a former Chicago web agency owner who sold his 12-person firm to focus on revolutionizing policy compliance. Hans brings his educator's passion to help WordPress users navigate tricky laws with auto-updating privacy policies and terms of service. We'll explore Termageddon's game-changing features, agency insights from his entrepreneurial journey, tips to dodge fines and
John, I don't know if
lawsuits
you
on
can
your
hear me right now,
websites,
bud, but
and
I
may
just
even
lost
touch
you.
on his adventures with adrenas, beekeeping, and great outdoors. And we're going to try to work into shot bong. So buckle up for a show of essential knowledge and fun. Let's get started. Welcome to the show, Heads. I knew that would get you.
Yeah, it did. It did. I knew you right before this call started. You said I did my research, and I'm like, oh gosh, I hope he didn't hear about the shot bong.
Oh no, that was front and center in some of the research. It's like, really? And so I was trying to find that one out. That one there was kind of amusing.
That's great. And just a heads up, John, I did hear you said something about auto updating privacy policies, and then it kind of went quiet for a second there.
Oh, did
and
it?
then you came back in.
Oh,
yeah. So
that would be a Teams. Sometimes our
Okay.
audio will drop, but it doesn't drop into recordings or what's going out to the YouTube channel.
Oh, perfect.
It's
Cool.
a Teams thing. It's almost like they've imported some of the stuff from was the program they had. We used to use all the time. Microsoft just killed it.
Oh man, the only thing I know they killed was they killed Internet Explorer. That was a good day for us web designers out there. I remember that.
Yeah, no. This was the voiceover thing, and for some reason it's
Okay.
not in my head right now. Maybe my my second person will pop in there. Let me.
I'm just happy to hear that all went through, and thanks so much for having me.
Oh yeah, well, welcome to the show. Now, briefly before we get started, I just want to do some for some transparency. I am a agency partner with Termageddon, and we've been with them for almost a year, well, not quite a year now. It was earlier this year I joined in there and started working with them. They've been so fantastic in support and service. Before I even knew who Hans was, he was answering my support emails for the miscellaneous glitches we've had along the way. And it's been so fantastic. And their customer service sold me because they always go above and beyond. But I did want to let everyone know that that is part of it. But with all of that being, we're going to dive in and ask some questions. Let's talk a little bit briefly, some of their background on you there. You know, you've had a pretty good journey through things. You studied at Miami University. You had a web agency in Chicago. What started your interest into, say, web development?
Yeah, so prior to web development, I was one of the first employees at Groupon. Back when Groupon was just this little bitty company, they kind of grew up a little, or they kind of exploded in growth. And I loved Groupon at the time. Like, hey, we offer a 50% discount only if a bunch of people sign up. And I really felt like it like engineered some real good social interactions.
Yeah.
But as the years progressed, I kind of just had this feeling in my stomach that all we were doing was discounting small business owners who didn't know how to market themselves online effectively, and basically reaping all the profits from all these small business owners. So it really bothered me. And I was just like, if someone was out there to try to help these small business owners have a voice online and be able to showcase what they're passionate about online, they wouldn't need to they wouldn't need to take 25 cents to the dollar for everything they advertise through like channels like that. So my motivation was just, I was working with small business owners and I just felt like there was a better way to help them get exposure online. So that's how I started.
That's a nice working is to get small business owners. That's some of the things I'm working on now with my agency is we're working on ways to bring small businesses online inexpensive, especially in underserved areas such as amazing like electricians and plumbers and places like that. They have nothing. And of course, we don't have the yellow pages anymore where everybody used to advertise back when I had my automotive shop. But it's always a challenge. So what kind of running a 12-person agency? It's like I'm small. I have like 3 people working for me. Really a tiny place for the most part. What kind of challenges did you face running a 12-person? That's a pretty good sized team.
you know, um, I could probably spend the next hour talking about all the things I had challenges
Just
with,
touch on them a little bit. We're gonna be diving into something as everyone seems to think it's not exciting. It really is. Privacy policies and the privacy dealing with the privacy is actually quite exciting and interesting. It just sounds like a boring subject.
That's right. Yeah, sounds boring, but yeah, we'll pique some interest, I'm sure, if anyone is willing to stick on. But for running my agency, I would say like when sitting back and reflecting on it, there's a couple big things I learned along the way. So one, like simplify your offerings. Like I was offering not just web design, but I was also offering social media content creation, social media advertising, Google advertising, email marketing, and I was managing people's email servers, and the list went on and on. And one day, out of frustration, because I just felt like we were just a jack of all trades, a master of none, kind of.
Yeah.
I counted up. We were offering 37 different services, and one of the best things we ever did was we said, nope, we're not doing XYZ. We basically cut out everything except web design and maintenance, and all of a sudden our processes and procedures were far more easy to define. Managing staff far more easier because we set a guideline together on like what the expectations are for particular stages of the development process and so forth. So by simplifying our offering, we standardized our offering to the world, and therefore we were able to start generating some real money, and that's when we really started to grow. And to put it another way, and one of the biggest lessons I learned how to say no to people.
Yeah.
Now I struggle with that. I'm not gonna lie. I do still struggle with it. I'm always out trying to help as much as I can, but learning how to say no was the critical aspect. Like, yes, I could hop into your email server and figure out why your emails aren't sending, but I'm not. Like, and all of a sudden now I was focused on growing my business, and trying to perfect my own offering.
Yes. I understand to learn how to say no. Just a quick one here. We've got Ryan from Influence WP popped in. He said, tell Hans hi for me, and he has to
I
pop
know
out.
Ryan.
But yeah, he was one of the first people I interviewed when I started bringing these interviews in.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm interviewing him again on Monday
Cool.
for his new
Cool.
project. So anyway, he says he's got a dental appointment. He'll catch the replay later. Well, thanks a
That's
lot for
awesome.
popping in real quick, Ryan. We greatly appreciate it. So yeah, the telling people no, that was one that I really had to learn. I can understand that. So
Yeah.
let's move along a little bit here. We'll start leading down the path to the privacies. How did you founded this company with your wife, Donita?
Donata. Yep.
Donata. Anyway, you found it with her. She's a privacy lawyer. And what led you to founding Termageddon? I know you've told the story many times elsewhere, but hey, this is the first time here.
For sure.
Was there a specific aha moment for you?
I would say it was. there was like an aha moment for me and for her, and they were different. So I was sending her business for, like, she had a law firm practice where she'd write privacy policies, but she was charging about 5K a policy. And
Yeah.
because she did it properly, she helped you find the laws that apply. She then research all those laws, determine all the disclosures you specifically need to make. And she did that again and again. But $5,000 for a privacy policy did not go over well for a good portion of my customers. And before I knew it,
It's tough.
yeah, it's ridiculously priced. And it was a ridiculously good policy, but it just, when you had a $3,000 site be built for you, or even a $5,000 site, paying the double to now have a policy is just not in the cards. So I found myself copying and pasting privacy policies from competitor websites. I'm sure people use ChatGPT these days. For sure, I am absolutely in that boat. And had I not married a privacy attorney, I probably would have kept doing that again and again. And, in passing, I told her, I was like, for the client, she's like, why do you only send me such few clients? I was like, well, because everyone else would never pay that amount. And I was like, well, she's like, what do you do? And I said, I go and copy and paste other people's privacy policies. And she's like, you realize how bad of an idea that is, right? I'm like, fair, so really the frustration I had was that I felt like there was some middle ground between like ripping off a privacy policy from somewhere else and just hoping you don't get sued, and like working with an attorney and paying a lot of money up front and then ongoing. So, and then last but not least, I felt like we as web designers, we would get the question all the time, what should I do for my website policies? And I'd be sitting there and be like, I have no idea. I'm not an attorney. And so I felt like these clients of ours, they depend on us so much for everything digital that, like, we should always recommend an attorney, but how nice would it be to be able to recommend a tech solution too? So that was my motivation. I wanted a web policy solution that was built for agencies and their clients. My wife, she was getting tired of writing privacy policy after privacy policy. It got monotonous for her, and she was kind of already envisioning, like, what if I feel like I could create a system that just answer a bunch of questions. Fast forward to today, and Termageddon now consists of over 500 interchanging, completely conditional-based questions, which I don't think she expected at the time. But so her goal, she wants to build the most comprehensive policies in the world. My goal, I just want customers that have an affordable solution for their small business website.
Seems to me both you guys have hit your goals for the most part.
Well, thank you.
Although with the ever-changing landscape of privacy laws, I mean, when I started in this, there was one basic one in Canada, because that's where I'm located. It was one basic that covered out the whole country. Now we have the basic one, and each province has its own. Each one does it a little differently.
Yep.
So it makes it tough. And that's where I really enjoyed working with Termageddon, because I answer the right questions for what province we're in. And for those of my clients that are in the States and into Europe and everywhere else, it's been really nice. Now, can you, thinking on that there, talk a little bit about how Termageddon's, we're gonna stop here for a moment on the name Termageddon. I was wandering through some of your old tweets there, and I came across the one that told us how Termageddon got its name. and it basically went down to something that the policies were aging your
Okay, so that was a complete joke tweet, but I think a lot of people took it as real. So I was just messing around in my head with the name. So Termageddon, and then if you read it kind of a certain way, it looks like term aged Don.
Yeah.
So then I was like, terms aged Donata. So like terms of age Donata, Termageddon's president, my wife. So
I thought it would be fun to throw a little trivia for it. At any rate, tell us
we had a good laugh.
It was a good laugh when I tripped across it. Tell us a little bit about how the auto updating policies work and why they're kind of essential for.
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing website owners in general don't really realize yet is that privacy laws protect people. They protect people's data. So privacy laws regulate the collection of data. So people's names, their emails, their phone numbers, that is regulated data regulated by privacy laws. Well, when we have websites, we typically have websites that are visible not just across territory or province lines, but across country lines often. Many websites embrace the idea of wanting to get leads from across state lines, for example. Well, when we're collecting data from different areas, we may need to comply with those laws. Even though we're located in one area, we may need to comply with other laws, because privacy laws protect people. They don't care where we as website owners are located. So, stepping back, I think it's great, the fact that people have a right to their privacy. That's something I'm not fighting against. I absolutely believe in that. What I find to be frustrating as a small business owner is like, okay, I have a website, and now because of that, I may be subjected to dozens of privacy laws just because someone could submit an inquiry through my website where I collect their data. And therein lies the challenge, which is like wanting to respect people's privacy rights and hopefully avoid a fine or lawsuit, while also running your business. And so the way Termageddon works is, step one, let's figure out what laws apply, because each law defines exactly what you're supposed to do, exactly what you're supposed to disclose. So step one of Termageddon, figure out what laws apply, because only then can we ask the questions necessary to make the respective disclosures under those laws. So that's the essence of our tool. Find the laws that apply, make the disclosures required under those laws. And then instead of it copying and pasting text into your policy pages, we give you a little snippet of code. And that's what you copy and paste into the body of your policy pages. So now at the time of this recording, we have another US state privacy law going into effect in 13 days. We're going to notify our impacted customers, push the newly required disclosures right to their policy pages. So, the benefit, the Termageddon to me is not just getting comprehensive policies compatible with today's laws. It is a strategy to keep up to date with the ever-changing privacy law landscape we now live in.
And that's probably one of the things that helps set Termageddon apart from free policy generators or templates or the old-fashioned way. I'll admit I'm guilty of copying and pasting policies from other
I'm
websites.
not judging.
That was back in the day, unfortunately, because I've been doing this for 20 years now, 26 years actually. But
Awesome.
what happens when you notify when the laws change that apply because of the questions people have previously answered into it? It allows an automated system to notify those people that, hey, something's changed. You got to go in and answer a couple more questions on your site. It'll update your policy, and then boom, because the code's there, it automatically gets new text. Nothing has to be done.
That's right. Yeah, and most recently we have had to ask customers, subset of our customers, to go back in and answer some new question, because the latest string of privacy laws they're not real privacy laws, in my opinion. They're only giving privacy rights under some circumstances, not others. So we've had to ask our customers some additional yes or no questions, but you're right. Once they answer those updates get pushed automatically. But then we also just push newly required disclosures based on how the questionnaire was already answered. So, and therein lies the strategy. It's a strategy to keep up to date with this stuff, because I think my wife is probably the only one aware on the planet of what next law goes into effect in 13 days. Like, I have yet to meet anyone else who's even aware of it. But that's it right there. That's the value, is the updates.
Yeah, well, that one there I found quite nice. And the other value in it for those that become agency partners is that once you set it up, you can share the policies back and forth, or you share them with your client, so you can easily access the code that needs to be changed or updated or tweaked in any way. I think I had once or twice where I've had to do that. And also that the client gets the information instead of being the go-between between the client when there's a problem.
100%.
I know we'll talk a little bit here about like the setting up of a Termageddon policy. Give it just a brief rundown. I've got a link that'll be in the show notes to an interview you did on a couple of days ago. Name of that,
the admin bar.
The admin bar, and you walked through the entire experience for using Termageddon, and that'll be linked so other people can go watch it. I watched it through a couple of times because I actually found some things in there I didn't realize.
Cool.
So it's a very useful thing. So even if those that are current agency users or looking to be it, go look at this walkthrough, because it gives you everything for product 2.0. I started with you guys right when you were changing 1 to 2.
I think that's why you reached out with some support tickets. You came in, I was like, oh wow, how do we not test for that? And like, but that's the best thing about agency partners being our customers. Number one, they're understanding, and they're really good with helping us generate the error so that we can go in and fix it up real quick.
If you want errors, send it to me, man. I'll find the errors, whether I intend to or not. They just seem to find
for sure. Yeah, that app was that app was 3 years in the making.
Yeah.
So yeah, you joined right when we deployed it,
Yeah.
which is cool. That's great.
Well, it was great. Yeah, it was a bit of a thing, but I found it to be great once I got it adjusted to the new interface.
That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that. But yeah, the way it works, we'll walk you through a series of questions. In really our motto is provide exactly what you're required to disclose, nothing more, nothing less. I mean, it can be that beautiful. In fact, that's exactly what privacy laws want you to do. GDPR, perfect example, is you should not provide more information than what is absolutely necessary. And now my inner Donata is ringing. I have my inner Donata bell ringing in my head. I do want to share with everyone today. Please note, everything I share is not legal advice. It's for informational purposes only.
Yes.
Um,
None of
but
this
once
is
you go,
legal advice, folks.
yes. But yeah, once you go through our questionnaire, you've now set up our tool to understand your needs as it relates to changing privacy laws, so we can notify you those changes. And as John shared, sharing license access is something I believe in so much. Don't get me wrong, I know the benefits of white labeling. I white label many things with my agency, but privacy compliance, absolutely not. You should share access with your client, openly disclose that you're not their attorney and that you are using a third-party technology, not a legal service provider, to help them with an affordable alternative.
Yeah, well, that's what it boils down to, is an affordable alternative that's not a lawyer giving you legal advice, and that it helps. Was one of the first things, I noticed, like when I went through and did my own, okay, it was easy. I understood my company, but when you're setting up for somebody else, you can't answer the questions that only they can answer about their company and what they're doing.
Bingo. Yeah, that you nailed it. A good example, and you probably know this for your customers, but one of the questions we ask is, do you make 25 million a year in revenue or not?
Yeah,
We don't ask that for fun. We don't ask, we don't just we're not like sneaking on you. No, that's because California's CPRA, previously known as CCPA, has that as one of the factors for that law to apply. And maybe we know that question about our client, but therein lies why we shouldn't be just answering stuff for our clients.
Yeah.
And I know clients, I know they don't want to do it. They want us to do everything for them. But when it comes to compliance, they should absolutely have access to their license so that we can notify them directly about changes and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and that way they get the questions answered correctly.
Yes.
Okay, let's see here. Now, how does Termageddon work to handle sector-specific needs? Now, this is the thing. We've been talking privacy laws here right now, but there's other policies that are needed for websites. And we're talking sector-specific, such as e-commerce sites or health blogs, or they have other disclosures and other policies they have to have on their sites. Like I do have clients that are psychologists and nurses and things like that, and they're getting their policies set up, and they're a little different in how they're handled. Or a client that's an e-commerce site which needs return policies and other things. Yeah, consumer protection laws. So how does Termageddon help handling things like that?
Yeah, so because our price is $119, whether you want to comply with one law or all of the laws, we don't change it at all. We're just, this is the fee, whether you want one thing or everything we've got to offer. And that's something I'm a big believer in. I don't want to nickel and dime people just to get added protection. I just want you to have it all, access to all of it. And so when you get into industry specific disclosure requirements, I feel like that's where that's beneficial, where, okay, I'm a psychologist and I want to make a medical disclaimer on my website where it's like, nothing on my website should be considered medical advice, for example, or health advice. That happens to be our disclaimer generator.
Yeah.
And our tool will just straight up ask you, do you provide anything on your website that could be seen as health advice? And you would select yes as a psychologist, for example, and that generates the medical disclaimer. Same with e-commerce. Along the path, you'll be asked questions regarding transactions and if it happens online. And if you're taking transactions and you're located in an area that has consumer protection laws, we set up all the questions necessary to make the disclosures under those respective consumer protection laws. Now, with that being said, and I think a really good resource is we just launched a few weeks ago a new page at the top navigation of Termageddon.com, which is called a coverage page. And that shows all the laws, rules, and regulations we cover. We cover just over 120. Just for perspective, when looking at our three biggest competitors, it's more laws than they all cover combined. I think that's the benefit like of an attorney founded solution. We're just firing them off. So you can use that feature to like search by coverage area. You can search by type of law, various other things. There's like a filter at the top box. So we cover a lot of industry specific things, but there are things we don't cover. A very good example is FINRA. FINRA is a financial privacy law that applies to like websites that are like issuing loans directly through their website without talking to anyone. You apply for a loan or something. We're not a good fit for that. HIPAA. So if a website's collecting protected health information directly on the website. So most doctor websites, they have a third-party patient portal for this exact reason, to avoid HIPAA as it relates to their website. But if you are, if you have a website and you're like, what's your prescription history? What's your ailments? Describe your problems, and you're collecting that data, hopefully through a HIPAA compliant server. HIPAA would not be something we cover. But when you have those industries that we don't cover, you can still customize your policies with Termageddon. So you actually get a what you see is what you get editor, and you can add sections if your attorney wants to add them or not. So typically people like dealing with FINRA, HIPAA, they're very well aware of those laws, and they typically don't want to deal with them, so they don't build a website that has to deal with them. Right. But if you are in those situations, you can still use Termageddon. But just my recommendation would be share your license with your attorney so that they can add in any paragraphs if they so
add in and modify it as necessary. All right, well,
exactly.
We got a quick question here. If your company, your website focus changes, how do you make sure your site still has all the coverage it needs? What do they need to go back and re-answer questions or what?
Yeah, I would say going back and re-answering questions is a smart move. I mean, you're changing your business practices. A good example is, what is your return policy? Maybe you defined it, but now you've switched up your business. If you're changing your business operations, we live in a regulated world. In your head, you have to be like, oh, I'm changing things. I should review my Termageddon questionnaire to make sure it accurately reflects my new business. For what it's worth, from what I've seen working with thousands of customers, I would say the biggest quote unquote change I see is going from an informational site to an e-commerce website, because now all of a sudden you want to add terms and stuff. So I would just say the biggest rule of thumb, you find yourself collecting new types of data, you find yourself processing new data that you weren't processing before, that's when the light bulb should go off. Oh, I should do something about that. Now, with that being said, a good example, we have a cookie consent scanner. Let's just say you forget to do that. Our cookie consent will block those technologies from loading until you add them in. But regardless, best practice is website owners is we need to just understand when we change stuff about our business, we need to have that reflected on our website policies.
I understand that one. I recently rebuilt a site for a client where they went from just mostly informational to adding e-commerce. And we used Termageddon to help add all those new policies. Cool. It was an affordable one for them because they couldn't have possibly have paid someone to do all that. Had a fair amount for them to do. I'm thinking about that. That, and you mentioned the cookie consent. Now, on the cookie consent, how does Termageddon deal with the cookie consent? Because, well, one, it's not required everywhere, but it seems like it's everywhere. And it truly is everywhere. And that originally started because of the GDPR. They're the ones that forced that into the world 5-6 years ago. I think they forced it in. They mostly held it in Europe, but now it's spread across the globe. And also it's due to some issues with California, in particular the SIPA in California. That cookie consent is even more important.
Yes, big time. I'm happy you brought this up. This is probably the touchiest subject going on right now in our industry. So let's talk about cookie consents in general. Are they a slightly annoying user experience? 100%. I'm not going to deny that fact. Does a properly cookie consent banner respect the rights of your visitors? 100%. And time and time again, I see us website owners being conflicted because I'm like, do you want privacy rights yourself? Yes, it's unanimous. This is a non-partisan, like everyone wants a reasonable right.
Everyone wants it, but everyone wants to collect data. It's a conundrum. I want to collect data, but I want my privacy rights. It's like, okay, well, you gotta come to a center mutual
You
agreement
have to
here.
make a decision.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like the same thing when clients would come to us. I want the best website in the world. I want to compete with Amazon and my budget is $400. Like, well, good luck. Like, I wish you the best. You're telling me in one breath it's the most important thing ever. And then the other breath, you've amounted $400 for this investment. Like you're stuck out here. So I guess I would just say like a properly built consent tool helps ensure your website visitors data isn't just hawked off and shared with companies who've built billion, maybe $1 trillion companies at this point. I think some of our even in the trillions. That's so wild to say.
Yeah.
And so a consent tool will ensure that they take what's called a quote unquote explicit action and consent first prior to you taking their data and sharing it with third parties. Now, I will note there is already an asterisk to that statement because some US privacy laws, like California's CPRA or Virginia's VCDPA, there's multiple other states that have this model too, is where you're opted in by default. And only if you select deny or opt out, you are opted out. So not only are cookie consents required, but the framework in which it needs to be determined as well. And that is subtle, but it's important. And so therein lies yet again how I started this presentation, which is step one, find the laws that apply. Because only then can you determine everything else. And that's exactly what Termageddon is. We figure out the laws that apply, and therefore, once our tool understands, California's SIPA applies, but CPRA doesn't. Canada's PIPEDA applies, and so does Quebec Law 25. And GDPR and UK DPA apply. Okay, great. This is the type of cookie consent banner you need for these visitors. So our tool helps figure out the frameworks you need. Now, cookie consent banners, I've come to love them because I understand what they actually do, which is respect privacy rights. I think as time goes on, more and more people will understand that. Unfortunately, I think that timeline is going to be escalated a bit because there is a new string of demand letters coming out of California targeting website owners of all shapes and sizes. I have spoken to major companies receiving these demand letters. I've spoken to one-person retirees with just an informational site getting a demand letter for 25 grand in damages. And I've spoken to nonprofits dealing with this stuff. What is happening right now is there is a privacy law that isn't new. In fact, it's the opposite. It was made 30 years ago, before even Google existed. It was created. It's called the California Invasion of Privacy Act. And it was designed to protect Californians from having third-party companies eavesdrop on phone calls. And when you step back, that's actually a pretty legit law. Like, I kind of like that. Like, as a Californian, it's illegal for someone else to be spying on you, listening to you on a phone call. I can get behind that. What is unfortunate is that the way wiretapping was defined, it was defined as a communication. And there's been a new string of attorneys, a growing number of attorneys that are applying that to website owners, saying that if you've integrated anything behind the scenes that is monitoring me while I visit your website, you are tracking me without my consent. Therefore, I demand, $50,000 in damages for how offended I am or whatever their claim is about how damaged they are. Websites using Facebook Pixel, LinkedIn tag, live chat features. Those seem to be the big ones. With Facebook Pixel being the big one, and what I think it is, and we saw with accessibility, I think these attorneys are just going down the line, finding all these sites that have Facebook Pixel, seeing if they have a cookie consent solution or not, and then submitting a lawsuit or submitting a demand letter. I've spoken to one too many people who come to us after dealing with one of these things, and then all of a sudden we can now help them. But it's much better to just get in front of it now because if you ignore the letter, you're going to get served. At least so far, everyone who told me that they're going to ignore it, they ended up getting served and have to show up in court now in California. So, anyways, long story short, SIPA is a 30-year-old privacy law that's being reinterpreted to apply to website owners, and there are a lot of people completely blindsided after receiving the demand letter and even possibly being served. They've settled for thousands, maybe $10,000. It's expensive, and it could have been very avoidable. Just take on privacy, embrace it is my recommendation.
That's what needs to be done with it, and yeah, that one there is a big one. So as we move through this, we can look at what are some of, aside from this one here, the cookie consent laws and dealing with the cookie consent. Now, on your cookie consent solution, I saw you said in an interview I saw you somewhere, you mentioned that the cookie consent banner has an IP or a geo function, a geo-targeting function. Tell us a little bit about how that can be useful, especially if your website happens to appear somewhere where none of this is required, and maybe you can save your visitors some grief.
For sure. So a lot of website owners don't like consent banners. They want to limit the exposure of those banners. And because you need to display a certain type of banner based on a user's location, you have to use geolocation for a compliance purpose. So it's a perfectly compliant approach to I need to look up your location to determine what type of cookie consent you need, if at all. So one of the features we offer is the feature only display the consent tool to the people that actually need to see it. So like, being Termageddon, we display the consent to everyone. We want everyone to have that privacy right. But I absolutely understand people wanting to limit it. I'm in Chicago. If I wasn't as privacy focused, I'd be like, okay, show my consent to people in Canada, California, UK, and EU, but don't show it to people in Illinois because they don't have that right, and I don't want them to have to deal with a cookie pop-up. So that's our geolocation feature, which is only display the consent to the people that actually are required to see it. So
That's a useful feature. I thought that one was a good one.
it's a good one for sure.
See here for agencies doing this, that are reselling Termageddon policies. How can they use that to add value to clients along the way and also help themselves out a little bit in the process?
Yeah, for sure. So that's where my heart and soul is, agency partnerships. And the way it works is we give you a free license for your own website. We do that in the hopes that you're willing to take the time to generate comprehensive policies for your own website. Only if you like what you see, we ask you consider recommending us to your clients. There's no strings attached. You will get a couple emails from us up front, but then we send like 2 a year after those initial onboarding emails.
Yeah.
But yeah, the real benefit I feel like we provide is educational material. We help you educate your clients, that let them know, hey, look, I may have just built a contact form for you. I may have just installed analytics tools for you. These are features that collect data. Data is regulated. You may be required by law to have policies. You can go off and get an attorney if you want to. You can get set up with Termageddon like I use on my own site, or you can choose to do nothing. And what I'm leading into there is our website policies waiver. That's just one of many assets we provide for free to our agency partners, which is how do I educate my client about the website I just built them that is subject to regulations. And I share that to say, I would try to pretend this stuff doesn't exist for a long time. Like I'd copy a policy from somewhere else and just kind of hope for the best. And the fact is our industry is growing up. It's being regulated. And I would much rather be upfront and communicate that effectively. Here's what's going on with regulations. I need you to acknowledge that I told you this. Because by doing that, if a client declines to have policies, declines to have all that stuff, if they end up getting a demand letter for 50 grand in damages and they try to blame you for it, you're going to have a lot of documentation saying, I kind of told you about this, buddy. And I can't express how important that is to get that documentation in place, because every website you build today will be facing the privacy laws of tomorrow. So get in front of that. Now, I realize I didn't answer your question directly, John. Like, how do I offer this as a value add? Well, I would say that, if I'm a small business owner and I'm trying to decide between agency A and agency B, and agency A is telling me, hey, I understand you want a contact form. I understand you want a newsletter subscription. Just so you know, this is data. Data is regulated. So you may be required to have policies by law. Not to worry. If you don't have an attorney, I have some other solutions that are like affordable for you for that, or something. I don't believe in making the sales pitch for a new website to be all about policies, but I do believe 1 or 2 sentences talking about it, that's just one more example that further separates you from a company that doesn't care about privacy, that doesn't take this into account and downplays it even maybe. Because if I'm talking to an agency that I'm already coming to them because I like the design of their work, if they're giving me insights that go far beyond design and it demonstrates a full comprehensive understanding of the web design industry, I'm going to go with the person. It builds trust. I'm going to go with the person I trust the most. So I think it's a trust building opportunity, while getting you the documentation you need to protect yourself as you run your own agency business and launch sites that will be facing the privacy laws of tomorrow.
That's important now. Now, with what you offer, I mean, the assets you give to an agency have been incredible. I mean, initially during the onboarding, you guys offer up a course that can be taken that gives you a little bit of a certification of acknowledging and understanding more. That was actually quite useful for me.
Awesome.
And the other things you've got 2 paths on how people can make an income from you. Can you talk a little bit about those 2?
Yeah. So after you use your free license for your own site, hopefully you like what you see and you want to recommend us. You get 2 paths you can go down. And maybe I shouldn't call them paths because you can do one for one client, you can do the other for the other client.
I realize that but they're 2 paths to an income stream.
For sure, yeah, for sure. And most partners go down one exclusively, but yeah, just want to know both exist. But the reseller and affiliate programs, these are the 2 programs we offer to our agency partners. Reseller is where you as a partner can buy licenses one at a time at wholesale rates. So when you apply as an agency partner, yes, a real human does actually review your application, and they really actually do send you a personal welcome email. That's very real. It's not AI. We've been doing it since we started the company 10 years ago. But because we approved you and we vetted your website, we unlock ability to buy licenses at wholesale one at a time, meaning you don't need to buy 20 licenses to start getting a discount. You can buy them one at a time. And by buying them one at a time, you can then resell them to your customers at the full retail price. So there's a good margin in there to make some recurring revenue. I feel like it's kind of like adding a 13th month of hosting and maintenance to your annual plans. It feels a lot like it's like that kind of price range.
It's adding those extra 2 months that you give away in the 12-year discount or 12-month discount.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, no one's getting rich off Termageddon, but you're protecting your clients and you are increasing that bottom line, which is always good. The other program is the affiliate program. So that's where the client pays. That's where the agency pays nothing. They will never pay us a dime ever. In fact, we are the ones who pay them. And that's where the client pays Termageddon directly. And then we pay recurring commissions to the agency partner for the lifetime of all referrals. And I would say that I've noticed, I'll just say about 50-50 partners do reseller. The other 50 do affiliate. And that's just, I think, more so just how agencies like to run their own business. So I'm a reseller by heart. Like, I want to increase my recurring revenue and stuff. But then there's a lot of agencies that are like, I want my client to have the keys to the castle and they control everything from there on out. Like me, that stresses me out. I'm like, I don't want the clients having keys to anything because they're going to probably break it. But those two, I just wanted to make sure we meet those 2 mindsets and can, service both of them. So we offer both.
And they're nice. I actually use both myself.
Oh, cool.
I've got the resellers that I got for all of my really good clients, and the agencies for the clients that just want to handle stuff themselves. It's a split, and also why that word just went out of my head. I just used affiliate. Thank you. The affiliate jumped out of my head. The affiliate one is also one that I use to promote through my podcast every week.
Oh, cool.
So
cool.
So at any rate, those are all really great. Well, let's wander on out of here. We've dived really nice and deeply into all the privacy laws. Let's wander out a little bit and talk about, from your agency days of working, what is a piece of advice you give freelancers for scaling team?
Simplify your offering to the world. I understand that freelancers is a time to learn and grow. So it is kind of a balancing act, but find what you love and stick to that. Like, life's too short to be, as you can probably tell, I'm a little bit salty about it, but life's too short to be dealing with someone's email server while all you want to do is design beautiful sites. So stick to what interests you.
Yes, I understand that one really well. Okay, now, another question here is, where do you see the privacy laws going in the next 2, 3, 4 years? And how is that going to affect things like WordPress plugin or just website design in general, etc.? Because I know it's like you mentioned California's introduced a new one. Well, California, they introduce a new law to control something every 3 months, I think.
100%. They're keeping us in business.
But the problem with California is it starts there and it spreads to the rest of the United States, and then spreads to Canada and spreads to the world from there. The only one's worse than California right now is the EU, as far as creating laws like that. I think they're competing with each other, really. But, so where do you because you're so deep into this and you see all things, and then you've got your wife Donata, who is even deeper into it than you. So I'm sure you hear about some of the crazy that is happening. So where do you see them from your perspective?
Yeah. So I like looking at the past, but also thinking about the future. So in the past 3 years, we had 19 new laws go into effect that we had to update our customers on. 19.
Wow.
19 new privacy laws.
That's insane.
And when I started this company 10 years ago, it was like, okay, GDPR is in 2 years. Like, let's get prepared for it. Now it's like we got one every 2 months to deal with. So the writing is on the wall. Privacy is becoming more important, not less important. And therein lies my pitch to everyone, which is, rather than pretending it doesn't exist and dealing with something down the road, just embrace it, respect people's privacy. You know, you want privacy yourself, so respect people's privacy and everyone wins. So I will say privacy is going to become more important, not less important. A bill in, who would have guessed, California, to stop the SIPA lawsuits got denied. So I think SIPA lawsuits will be continuing. I think they're going to be escalating for at least another year. Maybe a year and a half. And only then will we decide, is the next bill going to get denied? I think, and so that's how it relates to Termageddon. Like, yeah, we have a laundry list of stuff we're going to be needing to do for our customers. Good, nice value add there. And then from like a personal standpoint, like, I would say I'm a little bit frightened at the fact that like ChatGPT, the AIs of the world, like you submit data into there and you can't get it out.
Yeah.
I don't think we've digested that as a civilization yet, because like, you upload your name, your email, your contact information, that you can't pull that out. And that's against privacy rights. Privacy rights, you have to have the legal right to tell a company, get rid of my data, and they have to. So how will that get resolved? It's something I'm extremely curious about on a personal level.
Yeah, interesting. Thought about that, but I'm cautious in how I've used it.
Yeah, you know, thinking about the fact that like a data leak could occur and then that gets uploaded and now it's part of training models, like your fingerprints, your eye identification, like this is all your stuff, and we give it up freely. That's not going to be good. I would say privacy rights are probably one of the few pillars we have as a human civilization to like, privacy is worth fighting for, is what I guess I need to say. And I always like to end it with, I just don't want to see us living out a Black Mirror episode. So.
Absolutely. Or, well, for me, it's back to the Twilight Zone. I'm old enough to remember the Twilight Zone on TV. So.
Oh, the Twilight Zone, of course. Yes.
There were some interesting episodes there. Black Mirror is basically remakes of the Twilight Zone to me.
Oh yeah, it was 100% a derivative for sure.
So,
for sure.
All right. Well, let's take it out on some light notes here. Let's talk a bit about you and your fun. You know, you've got your stuff you do to decompress and whatnot. You have beekeeping hobby. Metal detecting, you know, you've got your bong, your shot bong, which of course we'll just leave that one there. We'll let everyone wonder about that one.
I can't believe you're going to do that to your audience. That's probably the only thing that's held them on to this call. Like, all right, I want to hear about this.
Maybe having the shot bong. Well, I just know it was something you invented back when you in your college days, in your college crazy days. And from what I understand, you went to 50 universities and 200 frat houses.
Yes, selling it out of the back of my car.
All right, what is it? What in a brief note? What is it exactly? Because I couldn't actually find it online. I tried.
So yeah, I coincidentally came up with some friends a few days ago. I had a hard time finding it too. It's a device like a beer bong. Imagine a really small beer bong for holding shots and chasers, where the shot stays separate. It stays in the bendable tube and the chaser stays in the funnel. So when you do it, the shot comes first and the chaser comes so quickly after, you don't taste the shot at all. And I traveled the nation proving it. I'd buy the cheapest vodka in the local neighborhood and fill the chaser with Kool-Aid. And yeah, the number one response was, this is dangerous. Right after they do it, they'd look at it and say, this is dangerous. And that's actually why I stopped selling it. I saw some YouTube videos of some kids taking, it just wasn't for me. I couldn't mentally handle it.
I'm just thinking back to my days when I did things like beer bongs and pong shots and everything else. And I'm thinking adding something like that to the mix would have been really horrid. Okay, now we know what it is. Let's talk about some fun. You do beekeeping. Beekeeping is something I'm fascinated with. I've not had the time to make it part of my life yet, but tell us a little bit about how does beekeeping and metal detecting, how do those help you recharge your batteries from?
For sure. I think it takes you away from your computers and your screens, which is a constant battle for me these days, especially, at least me personally. But no, beekeeping is wonderful. You know, my favorite part is when you have to go to the USPS, you have to pick up your bees. So you can order bees online, like from a good breeder. Local, if you can find a good local breeder, of course, that's a wonderful route to go. But we decided to order online and picking it up from the USPS and all the employees like freaking out about it, that was one of my favorite moments. Like we had some good laughs together. But yeah, for what it's worth, for anyone interested, it's a great hobby because they're bees. They're going to do their own thing. You know, you kind of got to get them set up and then check on them every now and then to make sure you learn them through podcasts about their health and everything. But it's awesome. Especially if you can set up the hive where like you can chill outside and watch them from a distance and kind of see them coming in and out of their hive and whatnot. It's a great hobby, and it's way less effort than I think a lot of people realize.
It is. I also need the space. I'm a little too close to my neighbors for a beehive, I think.
Your neighbors might not be too happy, if you load up right next to their side of the house.
Yeah, I think they wouldn't like it. But yeah, other than that, well, that's great. I really have nothing else. What I'm going to give you is an opportunity here where you can tell everyone where they can find out about you, and of course, all the links will be in the show notes for everyone. And so, fire away.
Appreciate it, John. So yeah, if you're building websites for clients, I would love for you to consider our agency partner program. You get a free license for your own website forever. No questions asked. We hope you love it. We hope you like what you see, and we hope you consider recommending our tool where you can make a little recurring revenue while helping your clients get protected. For all website owners listening, I'm sorry we don't offer it to you for free, but that's the only way we can make money is if small business owners think $119 a year is worth keeping auto-updating policies going. And yeah, I would love for you to check it out. John sounds like he has a promo code to share with you. John gets a little kickback.
Yep.
The way Termageddon works is we are paying people like John to give us exposure. I am absolutely not paying Google, who's the reason why we're dealing with these privacy laws. I'm not going to pay them from Google ads. So we pay people like John to share, education about what's going on. Yeah, feel free to use John's promo code for a little discount. And then in general, I know sometimes I wonder if we're conditioned to downplay privacy. Don't downplay it too much, everyone. Privacy is an important thing to care about. Your privacy matters.
A very important thing. I recently learned how important it is. And so yeah, don't downplay it at all, folks, especially for your websites. All right, with all of that being said, I'm going to let my girl take us on out of here, and I greatly appreciate everyone for showing up to the show. It's been a really great show, so thanks a lot for showing up, Hans. I greatly appreciate it. Roll the end credits.
Thanks so much, Sean.
Reminders for the show. All the show notes can be found at wppluginsa2z.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the newsletter for more useful information delivered directly to your inbox. WP Plugins A to Z is a show that offers honest and unbiased reviews of plugins created by you, the developers, because you support the show. Help keep the show honest and unbiased by going to wppluginsa2z.com/donate and set the donation level that fits your budget. Help us make the show better for you by subscribing and reviewing the show through your favorite podcast app. You can also watch the show live on YouTube at WP Plugins A to Z. And remember to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of all new videos. You can also follow the show on X at WP Plugins A to Z. John can be reached directly through the website wpproatoz.com or email him at john@wppro.ca. Amber can also be contacted through the website at wpproatoz.com or email her directly, amber@wppro.ca. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.